if you're in Hobart, and if you're in France, it's probably good afternoon. I thought I'd give you another quick update on the tracker and the weather that's happening. Jean-Luc is on his way out of Hobart, bound for the bottom tip of New Zealand and then on towards Cape Horn. And you can still see here as a large overview, unbelievably, the fleet has now spread out over more than 4,000 miles. That's not something that we envisaged when we first started the idea of the Golden Globe race. In fact, we had thought the fleet would stay together. If you knock out Igor and Mark Sinclair at the back, we've got about a 3,000 mile mix between the fleet. Which is still pretty extreme, and obviously everyone's starting their own race, doing their own things, and the weather has had a big interplay, but it's quite surprising now how it has stretched out. Mark Slat's here, still 1,600 nautical miles behind Jean-Luc. That's quite some lead, and there's this weird sort of band of no wind going right the way across the Southern Ocean now. It's joining the centres of highs, which is quite strange, but something they'll all have to contend with. Anyway, if we go, we'll come back here to look at, just zoom in a bit on Igor and Mark Sinclair. In fact, I'll come back, sorry. The biggest issue here is there is no doubt in my mind that both Mark and Igor are way too high. This is the 40th degree parallel here of latitude, and that's the target zone to get the continuous westerlies. You'll see here now with this high pressure system, when you're on the top of the high pressure system, you're going to get headwinds. So as this moves across, you'll see these guys here affected by headwinds, which will slow them down even more. Mark Sinclair, I think, is aware of that. He mentioned it in a tweet just yesterday, I think it was, day before, that he's paying the price for being too high. Now, he's probably got a game plan to stay up high, thinking that it'll give him maybe less weather and wind, which is true to an extent, but if you get too high, you actually get headwinds, and that's going to slow them down even more. Both these boats are excruciatingly slow right now. Igor's got a different challenge. He's got issues with the boat. He had issues with his forestay. He took the furling gear off, and he's put hanks on his sails. He had eyelets made on the luff of the sail in case he needed them and if something happened to the furling gear. So he's now fitted those hanks to his head sails. He also damaged a couple of sails, so he's short on sail inventory, and all these things combining with these hands that had been a problem in the past. They're repairing themselves now, but it's all combining to make him a bit slow. But hopefully we'll see both of these boats start to head south. Otherwise, it's going to be an even extraordinarily slow trip across the Southern Ocean here. And let's just watch this space and see how it goes. Loic is now literally 1,000 miles ahead of Mark Sinclair, and you'll remember when Mark went into Cape Town, he was only literally a day ahead. So you can see the impact there. If we look at the distance, it's not that far. Loic has just pulled away, and he's been sailing well, but these guys at the back have got their own issues to contend with, and that's stretching them out. So hopefully they get a move on, but we'll just watch this space. You can see Loic with a good following breeze at the moment, nice westerly. He's still up high. He'll probably make his way down a little bit, but who knows. Istvan certainly made a play to come down. If we extend that, you'll see he's made a big play in the last few days to get down to the 40th parallel here, because he knows that's where the breeze is. And Tapio dipped way down. He's actually right at this moment. He's on 41 degrees and 6 minutes, or 0.6 south. So he's only 60 miles from the lower boundary. If we put that on, that's the lower limit. So he's 60 miles further south, and he's got a problem. He's going to get a few northwesterlies in a minute, but with this breeze following up, but hopefully he'll be able to hold his own, and then it will come back to the southwest and it'll blow him away again. But Tapio's looking for more breeze and possibly shorter distance as well. He's trying to catch up to Susie. It's a big issue for him, and at the moment he's about 300 miles behind Susie. He has actually slowly sort of keeping up and catching up a little bit, and 300 miles with good sailing. If Susie stopped, he'd be there in 2 days. But that's not going to happen. Susie's quite a competent sailor, as you know. She's not stopping for anything, so she's on her way. But she is a bit affected with the weather right now, so she's only making 3.9 knots. You can see there's a lot less breeze there coming from the northwest, so she's on port port quarter wind, and who knows what she's got up right now, but it looks very light. She's probably, I don't know whether she have a spinnaker up or something, but she's doing okay. Tapio's making 5.5 at the moment, so he's gaining a little bit, obviously. And Istvan, while he's doing 4.9, he's not getting a good VMG. He's sailing down, whereas Tapio's now sailing along the course. So if he's doing 4.9, he's probably only making less than 4 knots in the direction he wants to go, which is to the east. So you'll see a few things happening there. Just an update again on Tommy's boat. Tommy's boat, the tracker is now finished. The battery's flat. We don't know where it's going. That finished back on the 3rd of October, and there's no indication. In fact, we're starting to believe now that the Indian Navy's given up on the idea of salvage, so the boat may be drifting and we don't know where. Gregor's boat's still on the tracker, and we've cut the positioning back to once every 24 hours now, and that could go on indefinitely, so we might be watching that over the many months ahead and see where she ends up. So coming across to Uku, he's doing okay, 5.4 knots. He might be like Mark Sinclair with spinnakers up, whatever. He's had a little bit of breeze, but it's all starting to lighten off very quickly, so he'll slow down a bit. He's still making a bit better speed than Mark Slats had been doing, but I got to say, right up until that point, I was amazed at how well Mark had done over the last few days, and we just got a message from him that said he had the spinnaker up for 4 days without touching it, basically, which is unheard of in the Southern Ocean. So Mark's been really surprised. He's been doing extremely well in these light winds, but now he's just parked in this ridge, and it's a bit of a blocking play now, because we'll progress the weather forward in a minute and show you what's happening in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days ahead, and this becomes a problem. And I think you'll see you could get a bit of an advantage, and he might take out some more miles with Mark. He's still quite a way behind. Let's just have a look how far behind. We'll put that one there, that one there. So Uku's about 550 miles behind Mark Sinclair. That's 3 flat-out days, so he's still 3 days behind, and Mark's certainly not going to stop, so it's going to be hard for Uku to catch up. But it's going to be a fun race watching that as well, so we'll see how that progresses. We'll leave Jean-Luc again in a minute because he's so far ahead. We'll treat him as a separate entity, and let's just look at... Oh, the other thing, of course, is Mark's about to head under Cape Lewin, so that's the next big goalpost, you might say, done extremely well, and then after that it'll be a trip into Hobart, and we'll look forward to seeing him when he gets there. So now I've got to take it so spread out, I've got to go back to basically normal again, full hoist so we can see the whole lot. I'll get rid of the no-go zone here. Sorry, wrong one. I'll get rid of that. It's easy to see what weather's coming up from underneath. And we'll progress it forward to 24 hours ahead. That's near enough to 24 hours. Not a lot happening. This is the divider line again. This is the 40th parallel, and it's working well for us as organisers if all the heavy weather is below that parallel, and it certainly looks like it is. So Loic's going to he needs to get a move on, or this calm's going to catch up with him. Igor and Mark Sinclair, big problem. They've either got no wind or headwind, so they're sitting there for the next 24 hours. They're going nowhere. And Istvan and Tapio, they're going to do great. They'll keep moving solidly, so they'll keep going. Susie's going to get to this hole, but I think she'll go through it. It's starting to dissipate or disappear. There's constant wind, so I think these three are going to be okay. They're going to keep moving. Uku's going to slow down. Mark Slat's stuck in the hole, and Uku's probably got a little bit more breeze, so he might take out a little bit of distance. We'll go forward now another day, another 24 hours. Bingo. Mark coming over this end of the strip. Mark Slats has now got northeasterlies, so he'll probably, it's stretching down, so it'll turn into a northeasterly, so he should be okay. Uku should be okay. He's got a bit of a following breeze. Susie's got some headwinds here. This is crazy, where these holes are. It's hard to define where the centre of the high is, but that's effectively what it is. This is a counterclockwise rotation here. And so that band of no wind here is actually the centre of a high pressure system. It's squashed flat. They're really strange. So by then you'll see Istvan and Tapio. They'll probably be parked in here. Susie will be a little bit forward. At least she's got breeze to keep sailing, but these guys are going to slow. So there's going to be a lot of contrast. You're going to see some boats will be sailing, some boats will be slowing down in holes. Again, remembering this is another day forward. Mark Sinclair and Igor, big problem. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to sit there for 3 days. If they had been down lower, down here, they got a great breeze. So they've both got a problem. They need to get south as soon as they can. Let's go forward for another day. We'll go to the 10th, 1200. The good news is that there's still no big storms or anything like that. Look at this over here. Poor old Mark Sinclair and Igor stuck in a hole. They're right in the centre of it, going nowhere. So that's nearly 4 days. You'll see very little progress for the next 4 days for these guys if this forecast stays the same. They'll probably make less than 100 miles in 4 days, I reckon, towards Australia. So hold your breath for Hobart. And Loic's doing okay. He's got a breeze. These guys pick up again. They start sailing, although they will have moved forward to this spot, so it's still going to be frustrating and confusing. This is unreal. Headwinds. You've got northwesterlies here right next to it. You've got a southerly. You've got no wind bands in between. Really quite unstable conditions for the Southern Ocean. This bit of a blow here, not a big one, but it's way south, so it won't affect anyone there. And we'll go forward again to another full day. Pretty much the same. They're going to get some nice sailing breezes here, bearing in mind we're now up to the 11th, so that's 4 days ahead, and these forecasts could change. I hope they do, because any progress that Mark Sinclair and Igor make is still putting them into this low wind band, so that's going to be fascinating to watch what happens. Suhaili is now about to go past these guys, and think about that for a moment. That's all I need to say. I think Loic's okay, all this middle fleet's okay, Susie's okay, although they could be up here. Uku will be across that by now. They're still going to have northeasterlies. The sea state's going to be good. Anything that's northeasterly, it's going to be relatively low, 2 metre seas. So pretty interesting conversations over the next week, you might say, of frustration. I think you'll see their tweets starting to talk about this. So again, but here, look at this. If these guys are down onto at last, they'll finally get going. But if they're on the 40th parallel, there's your classic roaring 40s here. No big storms, just really good mile making. And, it'll be interesting to watch. So I think that's for that one. And here, of course, at this point, you've got the classic Indian Ocean high. That's what it's meant to be all the time. But this is on the 12th, so that's 5 days from now, before it forms up and makes this traditional, typical Indian Ocean high that develops the roaring 40s right along here, along the southern line. So, that's what it's meant to be like all the time. Back in the good old days when Suhaili and Benabetesi were down here, it was probably a bit more organised. The weather has definitely changed in the last, in the last 50 years. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence on that, and plenty of scientific evidence to suggest the Southern Ocean's got a lot more windy, a little bit more nasty and so on, but what we're seeing here is more instability rather than big winds. Prior to this, you see all those sort of funny patterns for the previous 5 days. So generally, another good week coming up. We'll go through to the last day, the 14th. I can't see much happening there. You can certainly see what happens below 40. It's like this magic dividing line, and that's the reason why we picked it. And they've got a week of good run. We'll take it right to the end, seeing it's the weekend. Bit of a push coming up, but because that's turning, and it's impossible to say, this is too far ahead now. That's the 15th of October. That's, just simply too far. That's a week away. This will all change by then, so I'm not too worried. So we'll just zap it back to the beginning, the here and now, and let's have a look at what Jean-Luc is up to. We'll zoom in on him. We had his tracker on hourly positions over the last 24 hours or so you could see the challenges he had getting into Hobart. I'll just change the track to put it on for the whole lot. Zoom it up again. He's quite happy he's not here tonight, because you can see there's no wind all the way along the bottom. If he wouldn't have got in, he would have just been sitting here waiting. There's a big hole there. And here's the track. I think you should be able to see that. He came in, motored. He got down to the end. He dipped away here, just having a snooze, and then he motored literally all the way up to Kingston Beach right there, and then tried to go to sleep. have an hour's sleep. But it was so calm, the boat was calm and everything was so quiet that he couldn't sleep. It lasted about 15 minutes, got up, and the sea breeze had kicked in then. The sea breeze comes from the southeast, from this direction, which is a headwind. It started off only at about 10 knots. He sailed out, got to here, and then he had to tack all the way out. That's this tacking back and forwards. Finally got clear, and then he was able to get some sleep that night, and he's now on his way to New Zealand. A couple of funny stories that were there, which we haven't talked about. One was he's down there and all of a sudden we're talking to the cockpit and all of a sudden the big motorbike came down. John Luke, I said, what's that? And of course he hadn't heard anything like it. And then just as he's leaving, there was an ambulance, unfortunately, came roaring down the road with sirens blaring and all the rest of it. And that was a new sensation as well. So Jean Luc's opinion on the whole stopover was that he really enjoyed it. It was very frustrating having to come all the way in and do it. But there's no question he saw the benefit of it, and certainly family and friends thought it was fantastic. And it's mimicking the whole thing that all the other entrants did, and this is the only time we did it. Whereas during '68, Robert Knox Johnson did it 3 times, and Benev Matessia did it about 4 or 5 times. So the Lanzarote one was different. This is a full stopover, and it worked really well for us, and I hope it worked well for you. It was a chance to see the guy and have a good feel for what he's up to. We got some great loads of film, which we'll have processed. Jean-Luc gave us 4 rolls of Super 8 film, a roll of 35mm film and so on, so we'll get that processed, and it looks like it's going to be an interesting film documentary when we do it, besides the digital stuff. Got some great vision, Christoph took great photos. We'll produce something out of that in the weeks ahead and get that up, but for now, if we just look at what Jean-Luc's got, he's got pretty pleasant sailing. If we zoom this down, this is the real-time weather now. He's heading over towards the tip of New Zealand. I'll put the course back here again. This is sort of like the rum line. There's New Zealand. There's a mark here, a little island. They've got to leave that to starboard when they go round. And if we progress his weather forward, that's today. If we go forward to the 8th, not a lot happening, although he's going to get a big, that's 1 day. This is 2 days. You'll see a southerly come bang. It pops up in 1 day, so that's going to blow him north a bit. Big winds, maybe that's maybe 35, 45 knots gusting, so but it won't last long. It's only there for less than a day, and then it just starts to leave him and head north again. And there's a fascinating weather formation starting up around New Zealand. Watch this. Just seeing you there watching it, you'll see it start to form up here. Jean-Luc's then in this nice band, so he gets a full day of solid southerlies. It'll be very cold. He'll have 5-metre seas, a little bit challenging. He may get pushed north a bit, but it goes over. This is on the 10th, so 3 days from now. By then he'll be over here. It will have gone over the top. And then this one's forming up into a really nasty little circular formation there. That's the 11th, but you'll see through the middle here, that's on the 11th, so that's 4 days from now. He'll be just into this. He'll get another solid southerly, but he'll be able to handle it. And it slowly changes as the time goes by. It opens up again, and I'm pretty confident he'll get those 2 blasts from the south, but in between he'll have great sailing, because this is the major high pressure system, okay, that's coming off it, and this is a low pressure system because it's going around the other way, right? So it's squashing between the two, and if he's lucky, Jean-Luc is going to ride right through the middle of this and get a lift all the way over towards the southern tip of New Zealand. So he may be lucky. You can see a few things happening here, where it turns around. So no big surprises for Jean-Luc. He's very capable. The boat's in perfect condition. Hydrovane's great. He hasn't had a problem. He's got power. He lost his solar panels. I'm fascinated by that, because few people lost solar panels, and to me, solar panels are meant to be indestructible. So whether it's the wiring coming off the panels or whatever it is, but there'll be an interesting story to tell. Enjoy the videos and all the talk sessions we had with Jean-Luc yesterday. We'll look forward to seeing Mark Slats very soon when he comes through. Let's just have a quick check at how far he's got to go. We'll just put one clunk there. Hang on a sec. Start again. Boom, boom. Come on. It's not clunking up. There's one. I can't get the other one. Oh, sorry about this. I'll just turn it off and start it again. No, I think I've got too much up there. Just knock that out. Knock off the tails. Now we should be able to get it. I just want to do a quick ETA for you. There's one. There's the other one. Okay, so Mark has currently got about 1,400 miles to go. That's nearly, let's say 10 days. So it's going to be about another 10 days from now, and we might see Mark bouncing into Hobart here, and that'll be a lot of fun. We'll look forward to it. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time. The plan will be that we'll get Christophe doing some French ones. I'll be trying to do one of these every other day, and we'll get the text reports as well. So see you then.